Welcome to another episode of Home Sweet Home. My name is Rod McCall.
And I'm Scott Nichols.
Scott?
Yeah.
Welcome. Well, this is a little weird. For so long we've done Bryce, but thanks for stepping up while he is on sabbatical.
Well, I've enjoyed the last two episodes that we had, so it was a lot of fun joining you guys.
Well, I enjoyed it, and I asked you to step in for an episode or two, and I don't know that you were bargaining for what you got, but we're glad you agreed to fill in for Bryce. I tell you what, since I know you, but nobody else does, why don't you kind of tell us a little bit about you and a little bit of your history?
Well, went over a little bit of it in some of the previous episodes, but for those who haven't heard before. So I've been married for 31 years. Got married to my wife back when I was 19 years old. So went a little younger with that than many people would. And it's really worked out for us pretty good, but not without a lot of, work along the way. A lot of mistakes, particularly on my part. And, a lot of learning. But, with dedication and commitment to each other, we've been able to overcome many of the obstacles that most people face. And so I think that lends itself to our topics here. I think maybe there's some things that I can share with people that might actually help them out.
Okay.
Aside from that, I teach high school as well as you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we both do that. I don't know if I do it as well as you, but I try.
Probably better.
And, teach high school. I've been doing that for, 12 or 13 years. And so I have a lot of experience with teenagers, particularly the high school age and the upper level of that. So, but I also have 3 kids of my own that we've raised, and ranging now between 23 and 30 years old. So,
wow. Okay.
And been fairly successful at that, I think. But again, with a lot of mistakes along the way.
I don't know that you can raise a kid without making mistakes.
I mean, that's how you learn, right? If everybody knew everything, then we wouldn't. Nothing would be as interesting.
Fair enough. Well, again, I look forward to getting to know you better as we go through this. Bryce and I started out with many years of friendship long before, but you and I have been pals for several years. Getting to know you, teaching across the hall from you, and so wrangling you into doing this. I hope you don't hate me too much later on.
I think it's been fun, and you've shared a lot about your life, and that's been making it a lot easier, for me to share about mine. But I think that between us, we have a lot of conversations offline, and I think that could lend itself to good conversations online. That maybe they help somebody. I hope.
If nothing else, maybe we can make them laugh.
Absolutely.
So, well, all right. Well, then, as you just explained, having 3 kids, I think, how do I want to say this? I found this really interesting article, and that's kind of what I do. Bryce was always the tech guy. He was the one that made sure that all the episodes were recorded correctly, and the sound sounded right, and he would upload it to where everybody could download our stuff. And I was the content guy. And so if you bear with me, I ran across this interesting article, and it was titled, Should Children Do Chores?
Okay.
And I found it on yourmodernfamily.com. And I thought, oh my gosh, because in my family, I got 3 sisters, and we had to do chores all the time, to the point that I felt like it was slave labor.
Yeah.
And so Eric passed away before we could really get into having him learn to do chores.
Right.
I mean, there was always the "we'll pick up your toys when you're done playing" kind of thing. But, other chores like emptying the dishwasher, taking out the garbage, picking up the dog poo in the backyard, that kind of thing. We hadn't got there yet.
Right.
So, but you got 3 kids and they're grown. So you can maybe identify if, the idea of should kids do chores? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? So I'll start with that question. What do you think?
Well, I think that, it's always good for children to be learning about things that they might have to deal with as adults, right? And, one of the things that we have to do as adults is work. And we have to take care of people in our lives, and we have to do some of those chores ourselves. And I think that it's always good to have children learning work ethic, learning that doing chores is more than just work, right? It's caring for the family. Okay. It's being respectful of the people that you're living with. I mean, there's all sorts of things that chores can teach children. And so, yeah, I definitely think they're good.
Well, in my classes, I always ask the kids, I say, have your mom and dad taught you how to cook? Can you guys cook? Can you do more than boil water?
Sure.
And I am impressed that most of the kids can say, yeah. And I mean, some of them say they can make pretty good stuff, which I kind of say, well, you can bring it into class and we can sample. But I ask them, okay, can you do laundry? And when I said laundry, wash your clothes so that your white clothes don't turn pink. And most of them go, well, yeah, I can do that.
Right.
And then I ask them, well, can you clean the house? Can you run the vacuum sweeper? Can you run the dishwasher? Can you dust? Can you use the toilet bowl scrubber? I mean, can you clean the house?
Sure.
And they say, yeah. And so I ask them, I say, well, is this because mom and dad want personal slaves and they're tired of doing all the work themselves?
Well, of course.
And so, yeah, they're well, yeah, mom and dad want their personal slaves and servants. But at the end of the day, I say, okay, in all honesty, why do you think mom and dad have pushed you to learn how to cook, clean, and do your own laundry? And they always say, or enough of them anyway, say, well, so that I can be independent, so that I can know how to do this stuff when I go live on my own.
Absolutely.
And so I thought, well, I love it. And I like that many of our our students, they're getting this from parents. And so I guess when my mom and dad made us do chores, and I feel like we had to do a lot. I mean, Saturday morning was house cleaning. And of course, this was back when you only had cartoons on Saturday mornings. But I'd watch, cartoons, and mom would say, okay, you got till 9 o'clock. At 9 o'clock, the TV gets shut off.
But that's when Roadrunner comes on.
Well, she didn't care.
She didn't care.
No, Bugs Bunny, all that. No, sorry, turn it off.
So you DVR'd it.
Yeah, we didn't even have a VCR in those days. And so, but then we would clean the house. But we had chores of, I had to mow the yard. We would do the dishes. We had to clean the table. Again, my sisters, we would take turns of who had to set the table, who had to clean the table, who had to help do dishes. One would wash, one would rinse and dry.
Sure.
But we would do all these, different chores. We had a big, massive garden, which was a real pain in the butt. I mean, it was good, but it was a lot of work. I mean,
I ate a lot of tasty food out of the garden.
Well, yeah, looking back now, I say that. But when you're, 14 years old and you got to go dig a row of potatoes, that sucked.
Sure.
But
I hated mowing the lawn.
Oh, yeah.
Or even, I lived in the Northeast for a long time, raking the leaves.
Ooh, we had to rake the leaves, yes. Yeah. Snow, shoveling the snow. Oh, I hated snow because my dad would get me up extra early, and we'd go out and we'd have to shovel the drive. And then you'd come in, and then you would eat breakfast and get ready for school, and then go. And because Dad would always say, I am not driving on that snow in the driveway. Pack it all down. Not going to happen. And then I'd have to mow. I'd have to shovel. And man, this was no snowblower kind of thing. This was a freaking shovel. And thinking about it now, I'm going, my God, that sucked.
We had a house that had a huge driveway because we had apartments in the barn that we had. So there was a large driveway. It was probably 10 times the size of a driveway here in North Texas where we are. And we would have to shovel that thing by hand. And so you didn't want to wait till it was a foot, right? So we'd have to go out multiple times and do that.
Okay, that's worse than mine. Okay. Fair enough. I think it builds character. I think it helps discipline. I think it, again, as you mentioned, you're part of a family. So when you're doing this, well, we share the workload. Yes. Because, now as an adult, at the end of the day, it's just Sherry and I at the house with her mom. My stepdaughter, her daughter lives with us, but she's gone most of the time. So she's not really there to do a whole heck of a lot.
Sure.
But I have to say that, it sure would be nice to have some kids to kind of, hey, run the dishwasher, empty the dishwasher. Hey, take the trash out, take the recycle out. Hey, I need you to go out and pick up the dog poo in the backyard. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, so we had a family gathering here not too long ago, and I had a niece and a nephew. They're both fourth grade. And I said, I tell you what, I got a $5 bill right here. I will give it to whoever can go out into the backyard and pick up the most dog poo.
Yeah, absolutely.
They did not take it. They weren't going to do it for $5. So, squirrels. But anyway, so this article kind of agrees with what you had said, and that, doing chores, but there's a little bit of science to it. And they were saying, in fact, they even quoted a Harvard study that, asking the question, do chores really benefit a child? And the answer was yes.
Sure.
And they said that a lot of times kids that have to do chores at home grow up actually being more successful and happier as an adult. And I thought,
yeah,
I guess, yay, mom, dad, for that. Because one of the things they said, and this carries over to the work environment, wherever you go to work, but it's a pitch in mindset. Mm-hmm. We're going to pitch in, and it's a joint work effort. Because wherever you go, you got to work in teams, you got to work with a group, and it can't be all one, the leader doing it all and everybody just kind of following along.
Right.
So if you grow up doing chores, well, then that pitch in mindset kind of comes natural.
Yeah. But I think that extent, when you think about regular life, like so when the child or the student becomes now an adult, pitch in mindset is important, right? You want to pitch in at work. Mm-hmm. You want to pitch in with your friends. You want to help other people. So having this mindset of that there are things that you can do to make other people's lives better as well as your own. I think that's an important lesson.
Yes. Yeah. To the point that I'll even add more to that. Per this article, they were talking about a University of Minnesota research. They did a 20-year in-depth study, and they were going, okay, what is a built-in predictor of a person's success, especially adult success?
Sure.
You want to guess what the number one answer was?
I would love to hear the number one answer. I guess it's chores.
It was chores, because chores, they called it the pitch in mindset. And when they asked, when they followed that a little further up down the rabbit hole, it came from families that, the kids had to do chores.
Right.
The chores make the pitch in mindset. The pitch in mindset led to a more successful adult.
Sure. And you know what, for a moment, just to piggyback back on the other two episodes that I participated in, anybody who's going to be in a future relationship, that future relationship, whoever that partner is that they're in the relationship with, is going to benefit from that pitch-in mindset, right? They're going to be thankful for that, and hopefully they'll have the same mindset. And you work better as a team if everybody's pitching in.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I tell the kids all the time that you do this in the classroom. I give you an assignment. There's 3 or 4 of you sitting together. There's 20 questions, and you'll divide that by 3 or 4, and everybody divides the workload, and you do the questions, and then you share the answers at the end.
Sure.
I mean, that's kind of loud. I was doing that when I was in school, so it's been around.
Right.
So, did you make your kids do chores?
I did. I mean, we had them, empty the dishwasher, load the dishwasher, vacuum the floors, do their own laundry eventually. You want to teach them those. There's some of that's just life skills, right?
Yeah.
So when they go and they get their own apartment somewhere or go to college and they're in a room with another person, right? You don't want them to be pigs, right?
No, totally. In fact, I was even telling my kids, because we talk, it's part of a lesson I do every semester, but I was telling them, I said, okay, you will be able to tell how well your college roommates' parents taught them to do these basic skills by how well they cook, how well they clean, how well they are able to keep their space clean. So, so again, I really like this article. I guess maybe because it fit my idea, but the idea of the science that goes behind this, and they were saying some of the reasons why it's good to give your kids chores is because, one, it makes them feel needed.
Yeah.
And it also gives them a feeling of importance. You're building their self-esteem. Yeah, they've got to do work, but you're giving them kind of ownership into helping the house.
Right.
And so, so again, it mentions independence, which we talked about, helping kids learn responsibility. I will tell you, my dad mom was pretty good at, making sure, but my dad he would always come in, like I said, it was Saturday morning. And so dad would usually work on a Saturday, and he'd come home for lunch and he would do an inspection.
Mm-hmm.
And it was horrible because he would reach above the doorway and he'd run his finger on it and go, nope, dirty, do it again. Yeah. Or, he would do a check throughout the house, see if, we're doing the chores correctly. Did we clean the house correctly? And we learned relatively quickly that you do it right the first time.
Sure.
Or you're going to have to go back and do it again.
I feel like I would have been doing it again if people were rubbing their finger on the thing that I was cleaning.
Yeah, it got, in fact, one time he came in and he did it in such a way that it drew my mom's ire.
Yeah.
And she got all pissed at him, and he really cut back after that. But again, I thought it was kind of neat that the positives is that generates in these kids. And one side benefit that they talked about that I had not really considered is that it helped cuts back on a kid's feeling of entitlement.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you have to help clean the house, then you help keep the house clean so that your workload is less when it's time. You pick up after yourself. You throw your own trash in the garbage.
Absolutely.
I mean, I've noticed that when, you and I helped sponsor a club here at the school, and we would go out and do street cleanup.
Right.
And the kids, when they had to go pick up other people's garbage, realized, my gosh, people are pigs, and throw stuff out their car windows, and they really cut way back on their own littering.
Exactly.
And so I thought, well, that's really good. Of course, one little thing is I'm reading here, it says they learn to have family time, especially play as a family.
Yeah.
Well, that made me laugh, as my dad would say, hey, let's go play games. I'm thinking, ooh, play games.
See how fast we can clean it up.
It was, well, get a rake. and
Yeah.
let's play a game and rake these leaves. Who can rake the most leaves? Who
And
can
then
rake?
jump in them, right? I mean, that's the best.
Well,
That's
sometimes.
really the only reason to rake leaves.
Well, now that I totally agree with. Totally agree. But it was as I see this word play as a family. That was my dad's favorite word. Well, let's go play games.
Exactly.
And his version of play games and my version of play games, especially at 12, 14, 16 years old, was not his version.
No.
No. So, but again, it taught me a lot of life skills that benefited me as an adult.
I would agree. In fact, I want to add one. I didn't really see it in the article because I was looking at that. But I read a lot of books. I mentioned before that I have like over 500 books.
Yeah.
And it's not just that I collect books and don't read them, although I'm not saying I read them all.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a book that I read in the past year that was called, it's by James Clear, right? And it's called Atomic Habits.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard you talk about that.
And I think that, one of the great things about teaching kids to do chores is it creates habits. Right, it creates good habits in them to keep things clean, to do their laundry, or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that James Clear talks about in that book is, doing, if you just get 1% better every day, and if you can start that as a child, boy, that's great. And the thing that he mentions that to start with is actually making your bed. That
Okay.
if you get up in the morning and the first thing you do is make your bed, that like you feel good, you accomplished something, you did something that day.
Okay.
And so like if you could teach kids to get up and the first thing you do is just make your bed, right? Like you did something good that day. You accomplished something. The rest of the day is looking good going forward. Right? Because some kids get up very, very depressed.
Sure.
Especially if you're in like some kind of a troubled home, right? Where there's conflict going on. I mean, teaching them to make your bed so that you have something that's a success in the morning. That's huge.
Sure. Well, so when you did your when you were doing this with your kids, did you have like a chore chart or chore cards or
So we
something?
did, and and I'll admit that my wife was kind of in charge of this because for a lot of the time that our kids were of age to be parenting in that way, I was working 3, 4, 5 jobs,
Okay.
and doing all kinds of things all over the place.
Okay.
As I'm sure I'll get to talk about a lot of those different experiences
Yeah.
over time, but I was doing a lot of stuff. So she was actually home for many years, and
Okay.
which was nice. And she did the chore charts, and the kids worked to achieve those charts.
Okay.
And sometimes you have a reward associated with it.
Okay.
Those rewards would diminish over time as the child learned that it's just something they really need to do
Yeah.
as part of the family. But there's some incentive behind it, and there's that gives them kind of a reward for doing it, makes them feel good,
Mm-hmm.
right? That they did it, and eventually they'll just feel good about having done it for the family and for themselves.
Well, one of the things I found interesting, I liked about this article. Now, chore charts I've seen, but I'd never heard of a thing called a chore card.
I have no idea.
And well, with this, they tie it to screen time, whether it's with your phone, your tablet, your TV. But you do this chore, you get so many minutes of screen time. And they were saying that I mean, it can be everything from taking the trash out, washing the tub, running the vacuum sweeper in this one room, doing the dishes. I mean, they're small, simple tasks,
Sure.
but each one is tied to 10, 15 minutes of screen time.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do the chore, you get, keep that and then turn in your tickets to me or your chore cards back to me, the parent, and that's how much time then you get for screen time.
Right.
And I thought, holy cow, how clever is that? Because one of the biggest problems I keep hearing time and time again is the detriment of too much screen time for our children. Well, we use electronic devices as a babysitter.
Right.
And I get it. It's very convenient. I mean, it's no different than, using a TV as a babysitter. So anyway, I guess that would be something cool to consider because kids can do chores at any age.
They can, yes.
And I mean, whether you're 4 or 5 years old, you're 8, 10 years old, you're 15, 16 years old, just give them age appropriate chores.
Sure. I mean, my daughter teaches our grandson and he's 4 years old. She teaches him to pick up the toys he's been playing with. Right?
And yeah,
just
that's
in the last few minutes before you take out new toys, right? Keep the mess down. So yeah, they can learn at any age to be doing that. And we used to sing songs with our kids while we were picking things up. I think one of the important things is to consider not making a chore a punishment.
See, and I think that's where the chore cards kind of come, and they're tying a chore with a reward.
Right.
So no, I totally agree with you.
You want it to be a positive thing so that they're not thinking of it as some kind of drudgery or a punishment that they're not gonna want to do it.
No, totally.
Right? Or they're gonna do it poorly.
So, well, I tell you what, we're pretty much out of time.
Yeah.
Man, this went fast.
Hey, this has been a fun conversation today.
And it wasn't a chore.
And a first time, as a non-guest.
Well, I'm glad to have you, and I'm glad you're willing to try and step in for Bryce. And thanks for sharing about the kids and the chores. And well, we'll be anxious to hear what next week our next episode leads for us next week.
Absolutely.
So, well, then until next time, my name's Rod.
I'm Scott.
See you later.
Bye-bye.